sometimes YouTube puts good stuff in my feed, and one of the good things I found was this channel called Circle of Tone. It's this guitar player that talks about music basically, and he has some stuff on the got a live one maybe. No, he just sounds like a drunken idiot. But yeah, he has a video on The Killing Joke. He has one on The Damned, and some on the Sex Pistols, which so right away, I'm interested. So I start watching this the Sex Pistols video. It calls into question whether or not Steve Jones actually played on Nevermind the Bollocks. I never really thought about it, I guess, like, thinking about it for 2 seconds, yeah, it makes sense that that wasn't him. Although he did play on it in some capacity. He has to be on there. Just like Sid had to be on there. And the reason they have to be on there is because it's the truth and lie thing. Like, they may just have, like, the reverb from their instruments or whatever. Just as long as they're on there, then they've held up their part of the contract. Because this is it's an evil thing. They're working contracts. They have to sell you a bunch of bullshit, but they do have to put truth in there too. That way they can ride the truth frequency along with the lies frequency. So you believe the bullshit basically. So yeah, he's pointing out that the guitar player that probably really played on it, the similarities between their playing and showing live footage of Steve Jones playing, and then the album. The album sounds unbelievable. I mean, it always did. But I never really thought about it, like, do you think that's them on there? Because sometimes you just don't think about these things. If pressed, I'd probably be like, nah, it's someone, it's someone else. It's a more professional guy, because it sounds really fucking super professional. I mean, the bass, even the drums sound really good. I mean, they're not crazy all over the place or dynamic, the drums, but they sound good. Like, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing here. But yeah, I never bought that story about Steve not being able to play guitar, but going on a week-long amphetamine binge and learning how to play in a week. I don't know, it just seems like a funny story, or one they thought was funny, and they just went with it, and they put it in the movie too. And you know what, I didn't even think twice about it. I'm like, oh, that's cool, whatever, but this comes back to the veil. This is all the veil. It shows you things as it's disintegrating, and it's not just the larger truths about, like, how the world really works or demonic forces and all the other stuff. It's every facet of life. It's because it's a covering that's covering everything. So when that covering starts breaking down, you can see little aspects of just about everything. This is one of those cases. Like, I'm sure there were murmurings over the years, and people brought this subject up before, like, did they really play on it or not? And it's been documented that they are very much like a boy band thing. But I still like the tunes. They're cool. I love those songs, man. They're great. Who played on them? Whatever. I mean, I don't even know who played on half the records I listened to. But the thing is, the thing that was cool about this guy is he did a ballsy move of tying punk rock to the CIA and governments, which I've done videos about here, about how they're connected and who some of the players are, and what the point of it all is. It wasn't just punk music, though. This has been going on in music or any form of communication that is going to be able to reach more than a dozen people. They want their fingers in it. Famously, all the coverage of the Laurel Canyon musical thing happening there in the late 60s. Tavistock Institute role in it, that they created the term hippie This was all a whole social movement. They figure out where they want the country to go socially, or the specific government they're socially shaping. And music at that time especially was a giant influence. I mean, it's not even about, I mean, yeah, you can put things in music, yeah, you can put things in the frequencies to affect people, but what it comes down to, I believe, in my opinion, is that it's the ability to speak to more than a handful of people at once. You know, if you can get on a soapbox and reach people, they want to control that. They want to control that. These American spirits, man, I know I do this a lot when I do these, and I'm very sorry, but they require maintenance. It's an odd thing, like you gotta keep stoking it to keep it lit. But then if you want to put it out, you gotta call the fire department. Whatever. It's supposed to be more natural or whatever, but I don't fucking know, you know, who knows? You don't know what's in any of this stuff. You just kind of hope you can mitigate it. But yeah, the whole punk movement was created by the American CIA and the Israeli Mossad. Malcolm McLaurin, Mossad guy, Bernie Rose, Mossad guy. And I've gone into that. I don't want to go into all that shit again. But I like that this guy did, because you never hear that. Like, no one ever talks about. Well, probably because people don't know. It's not a case of, like, you know, whether you have the balls to do it or not. It's a case of you probably just don't know, you know? He makes a lot of good points about that album, though. The playing is amazing. Really well done. And in my mind, if you were to ask me yesterday, like, who played on Nevermind the Box, I said, well, I know Steve Jones did the guitars. I think he did the bass, too. Like, all the bass, right? And whatever. Because Glenn Matlock had been fired, and Sid couldn't play. But he is on there. Sid's on there somewhere. They needed him to be on there. Because what it is it's a spell. A band is a certain alchemy. You know, they're trying to make a certain feeling or create a certain point, or they have an aim with this spell. And the components make up the spell, and they can be the personalities. You know, Sid Vicious was a better component visually than Glenn Matlock. So they switched him out to make a more powerful spell. That's all it is. So with that in mind, he has to be in there somewhere on the sonic part of it. So him and Steve are in there. Like this guy was saying, that it could be just anything from a line or two to like the reverb from their guitars. You know, it doesn't have to be anything that you can hear as a piece of music. But yeah, I just never really thought about it. I mean, as far as Steve not playing on it, you know, I'm not a guitar player myself. I wasn't hyper aware of the precision that it takes to pull those sort of chugga riffs off. He also blew my mind with the fact that Master Puppets, the whole thing is sped up. Weird. I used to think that about Ride the Lightning. So maybe they're both sped up. I don't know. The whole music industry is just it's a certain kind of alchemy, you know, and there's a lot of stuff behind it that is geared for your subconscious, not so much for your front brain. That's why it's kind of dangerous sometimes. Like, you kind of know what you got to listen to. You got to know what you got to listen. You got to know what you got to listen to. No, you got to you have to know a little bit about what's going on. You got to know that there's a trick involved, and when you know there's a trick involved, it robs power from the trick. You know, we've been over that before. Rabbit, Houdini Rabbit, Eddie Rabbit, Illuminati confirmed. So yeah, it's a great video. You should check it out. Really interesting. And at the end, he revealed that he's the son of one of the guys in Badfinger. That was a crazy story. He must know a lot of stuff. I'm sure he knows a lot of interesting stuff that you know, he's probably not gonna talk about. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.